The great chamber of the Galactic Council stretched wide and high, built from polished crystal and metal that shimmered like frozen light. Hundreds of alien species filled the seats, their voices a low murmur of whispers and suspicion. Some hissed, some clicked, some spoke in strange tones. But when the council leader raised his staff, silence fell over the chamber. All eyes turned to the center where a single figure stood, different from all others. A human. The human envoy stood tall, his uniform dark and simple compared to the glittering robes of alien delegates. His eyes were steady, unblinking, and his voice, though calm, carried through the chamber like thunder. "We came not as conquerors," he said, "but as equals. Humanity offers friendship. We offer trade, knowledge, and peace. Together, our worlds can grow stronger." Some aliens shifted uneasily. Others sneered. To them, humans were young, too young, barely a few centuries into space travel, yet already speaking of equality with civilizations millions of years older. They saw humanity as dangerous, unpredictable, too ambitious, and ambition, in their eyes, was a threat. From the council's high-seat Supreme Speaker Vathran leaned forward, his reptilian eyes narrowing. "You speak of peace," he hissed, "but peace with predators is never peace. Your kind spreads fast. You build weapons even in times of calm. You rise too quickly. Already the outer colonies whisper of your growing fleets. Humanity is not here for peace. Humanity is here for power." The human envoy's jaw tightened, but he did not falter. "If you fear us, it is because you see yourselves in us. You once rose as we rise now. You once fought as we fought to survive. But we are not your enemy. Unless," his eyes scanned the council, "you choose to make us one." A ripple of anger swept the chamber. Some delegates pounded their tables, others shouted in their native tongues. The speaker raised his clawed hand, and silence once more crushed the hall. His voice was cold, merciless. "The council has deliberated. The human envoy has been judged guilty of representing a dangerous species that threatens galactic balance. And the sentence is death." Gasps echoed. A few alien diplomats lowered their heads in discomfort, but most remained silent. None dared oppose the council's will. Guards marched forward, towering insectoid soldiers clad in black armor. Their claws clamped around the human envoy's arms. He did not resist. He did not beg. Instead, he straightened his back, lifted his chin, and faced the council with unwavering defiance. "You think this will end humanity?" he said, his voice calm, almost gentle. "You think killing me will frighten Earth into obedience? You do not understand us at all." The speaker's eyes flashed with cold light. He gave the order. The chamber's floor split open, and from beneath rose a sharp energy pike, glowing with deadly power. The guards forced the envoy down to his knees. Still he did not bow. Still his eyes burned with quiet fire. The council watched in silence as the pike pierced his chest. The light flared, his body stiffened, and then he fell still. The human envoy was dead. For a moment, there was silence. No sound, no movement, just the echo of the act that would soon burn across the stars. But high above, hidden within the chamber's design, a small machine hovered unseen. A human drone cloaked, recording everything. The envoy had carried no weapons, but he had carried a message. And that message, his final words, his final defiance, his execution, was already being sent. Across secure channels, it streamed directly back to Earth. On Earth, billions would soon watch. Soldiers, leaders, families. They would see one of their own, standing tall in the face of fear. They would see him killed like a criminal, not as a diplomat. They would feel rage, sorrow, and something far greater. Unity. The council believed they had silenced humanity's voice. But in truth, they had awakened something far more dangerous. As the guards dragged away the lifeless body, Speaker Vathran rose and addressed the chamber. "Let this be a lesson to all species. Humanity's rise ends here. Their kind will obey." or be destroyed. The delegates nodded, many agreed. Some whispered doubts, but all believed the decision final. None of them realized that the act they had just committed had lit a fire that would not be extinguished. Far away, beyond the Council's reach, Earth had received the broadcast. And even as the Council celebrated its false victory, alarms were beginning to sound in the command bunkers of humanity's homeworld. The Extermination Protocol, long kept in silence, locked away in secret archives, was awakening. And soon, the galaxy would learn the cost of killing one human. Across Earth, every screen flickered alive. Homes, offices, factories, even classrooms. Suddenly, the same image filled them all. At first, people thought it was a broadcast hack. Then they realized the truth. The human envoy stood tall, speaking his final words before the Galactic Council. His voice was calm, steady, proud. Families leaned closer, soldiers froze, leaders held their breath. They saw him defy the galaxy's most powerful rulers, refusing to bow even in chains. And then, they saw him die. The execution pike pierced his chest. His body jerked once, then fell still. The chamber's silence echoed across every corner of Earth. For a moment, the entire planet seemed to stop breathing. Then came the wave. First shock, then anger, then something deeper. A fire. In the crowded streets of New York, thousands gathered around giant hollow screens. A mother clutched her child's hand tighter as tears streamed down her face. In Beijing, soldiers in uniform slammed their fists against their chests, their voices rising in furious chants. In the deserts of Africa, tribes who once argued over borders now stood together, silent, watching the same man, one man, be killed not as a criminal, but as a symbol of humanity itself. And in the bunkers deep below Geneva, the Supreme Council of Earth's defense watched in grim silence. These were men and women hardened by years of hidden wars, secret treaties, and survival against the odds. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then General Alaric Kane, his hair streaked with silver, leaned forward and placed both hands on the table. "They killed him," he said, his voice low, steady. "Not just a diplomat. They killed our voice. They killed our chance for peace." President Morgan, her sharp eyes glinting with fury, whispered, "They killed all of us. Because when one human dies like that, the galaxy must know it killed us all." Around the table, the silence broke. Murmurs rose. Some demanded war. Others warned of destruction. But in the middle of the chaos, an old command screen lit up, one that had not been touched in decades. A red icon pulsed. Slowly, it spread across the entire table. Extermination Protocol. Classified, Level Omega. The room fell silent again. Generals, admirals, and world leaders stared at the symbol. It was supposed to be a myth, a story whispered only in the deepest military circles, a secret plan created after humanity's first contact with alien life. A plan designed not for survival, but for vengeance. President Morgan's voice was steady now, like steel. "They executed our envoy. They declared us a threat. Then let us show them what humanity truly is." She pressed her hand against the scanner. The symbol turned bright crimson. Across the planet, hidden alarms triggered. Deep beneath the oceans, doors of massive vaults slid open. From the moon's dark side, colossal hangars came alive with rumbling engines. Mars shook with vibrations, as entire fleets hidden for years under the red sands began to rise. On Earth's surface, ordinary people watched the broadcast replay again and again. Children asked their parents, why did they kill him? Soldiers asked themselves, when will we strike back? And ordinary workers, miners, scientists, engineers, all felt the same burning question. What now? The answer came not from words, but from action. Every screen that had once shown the envoy's death now displayed a single message, sent from Earth's command. Simple, cold, and terrifying. Protocol Omega activated. Humanity declares retribution. The world erupted, not in panic, not in fear, but in unity. In the skies above, Factories long hidden in orbit began constructing weapons beyond imagination. Massive dreadnoughts, 10 times larger than any Council warship, emerged from their cradles. Swarms of automated drones lit up like stars across the void. In the oceans, submarines surfaced, each carrying missile silos capable of piercing planetary shields. And on Earth itself, billions of people cheered, cried, and shouted. For the first time in history, every nation, every people, every culture stood as one. They were no longer divided by borders, by language, or by old grudges. They were united by rage. A little girl in Paris whispered to her father, "Will he come back?" Her father knelt, his eyes burning. "No, child, but his spirit will fight in all of us now." In the slums of old Mumbai, workers looked up at the hollow screens and raised their fists. "For him," they shouted, "for Earth." And in the deep command bunkers, General Kane watched the first dreadnought fleet come online. He whispered to himself, almost like a prayer, "You thought killing one man would end us. You've only called our fury." The galaxy had believed humanity was still young, still fragile, still learning. But the galaxy had made a mistake. It had shown Earth the price of peace, and Earth was ready to pay it in blood. The countdown to war had begun. In the endless black of space, silence was broken by a single sound. Engines, ancient and hidden, roaring to life after decades of sleep. They rumbled beneath the surface of the moon, shook the deep canyons of Mars, and trembled through the ocean trenches of Earth. Humanity's secret was no longer a secret. The fleets were awakening. Beneath the lunar surface, hangar doors that had not opened in 50 years split apart, revealing shapes so massive they seemed carved from the night itself. Dreadnoughts, black as obsidian, rose slowly from their cradles. Each one was armed with weapons that had never been tested in open battle. Rail cannons longer than skyscrapers. Plasma arrays capable of burning holes through planets. Swarms of drones poured from their bays like fireflies set loose across the void. The galaxy had always believed Earth's ships were small, outdated, fragile. But those ships were only the ones humanity had allowed the galaxy to see. The true fleets had been built in silence, far from prying eyes, and now they stirred like sleeping beasts. On Mars, the red sand exploded upward as colossal carriers launched into the sky. They were so large that their shadows darkened entire valleys. From their bellies, smaller warships swarmed, each one bristling with cannons and missile pods. Engineers cheered as the ships ignited, their engines glowing bright blue against the Martian horizon. Beneath Earth's oceans, titanic submarines surfaced. But these were not ordinary machines. Each one carried missile silos powerful enough to tear through planetary shields. They moved into formation, their dark hulls gliding like sea monsters across the waves before launching skyward to join the fleets above. And across the solar system, voices rang with command. Dreadnought Alpha, online. Carrier Leviathan, online. Interceptor Swarm, deployed. Command AI, operational. From the bunker in Geneva, General Alaric Kane watched the awakening with eyes that burned like steel. His voice carried through every channel, every ship, every soldier. The galaxy killed one of ours. Now we show them what it means to fight all of us. The response came not in words but in action. Pilots climbed into cockpits, their hands trembling with anticipation. Drone swarms lit up like constellations, forming a living wall of firepower. Commanders armed weapon systems that had only ever been whispered about in legends, and in orbit around Earth, a single ship took center stage. It was larger than them all, a relic of secret construction, known only by its code, the Sovereign. Its hull shimmered like midnight steel, its core powered by an engine that defied galactic science. For years, it had been hidden in plain sight, cloaked, orbiting silently above Earth. Now, its shields pulsed alive, its weapons charging with a hum that shook the very stars. When the galaxy first discovered humanity, they had called Earth a backwater world. When the Council first judged humans, they called them too young, too reckless, too ambitious. But ambition was no longer hidden. Recklessness was no longer denied. Humanity's fury was awake, and it had teeth. In the streets of Earth's cities, crowds lifted their eyes as streaks of light burned across the sky. Massive ships rose one by one, climbing toward the heavens. Children pointed in awe. Soldiers saluted. Ordinary workers, miners and farmers felt pride swell in their hearts. For the first time they saw the truth. Humanity was not weak. Humanity had never been weak. Inside one carrier, a young pilot named Riley gripped his controls. His voice trembled as he whispered, "They thought we were ants." He smiled, fire in his eyes. "Now they'll see the storm." Across the command network, President Morgan gave the order the galaxy would never forget. Her voice was calm, sharp, merciless. Launch the fleets. Engines ignited. Warships surged forward. The solar system blazed with light as humanity's true power revealed itself. Billions across Earth cheered, their voices echoing like thunder. But beyond the joy, beyond the unity, there was something darker. Revenge. For the death of one envoy, the galaxy would now pay in billions. For the arrogance of the Council, entire empires would burn. From the edge of the solar system, the first dreadnoughts leapt into hyperspace. Their trajectories were not random. They were precise, targeted, merciless. The nearest alien outpost would be the first to fall. And as the fleets vanished into the void, General Kane spoke the words that would soon echo across the stars. The fleet awakens, and the galaxy sleeps no more. The Council believed they had struck fear into humanity. Instead, they had awakened Earth's wrath, and now the storm was coming. The void was silent. Only the faint shimmer of hyperspace ripples marked where the first wave of humanity's fleets had vanished. To the galaxy, the night seemed calm. But calm was only the mask before the storm. The target was a border outpost of the Galactic Council. Outpost. Kairos. It had stood for centuries, guarding the trade lanes between 6 alien empires. Its walls were said to be unbreakable. Its fleet was said to be unmatched. But that was before the humans came. The watch officers at Kairos drifted lazily, in their command chairs, their eyes half shut. It was a quiet night. No alerts, no threats. The Council had just executed the human envoy. They believed the problem was finished. Then the alarms screamed. The stars blinked. Space tore open like a wound, and from that wound emerged shadows. Massive, endless, terrible. Human dreadnoughts poured out of hyperspace, their hulls black against the void, their weapons glowing like the eyes of demons. The alien commander shouted orders, his voice cracking with panic. "Shields up. All ships engage. Call the Council, call reinforcements." But it was already too late. The first human volley struck with fire no alien mind had ever imagined. Rail cannons launched slugs the size of towers at near light speed, tearing through shields like paper. Plasma lances cut entire destroyers in half with a single shot. Swarms of drones flew in perfect formation, weaving between enemy fire, striking engines and reactors with ruthless precision. Alien ships exploded one after another, their flames lighting up the darkness. Entire squadrons tried to retreat, but the humans had come prepared. Hyperspace corridors were blocked, escape routes were sealed. There would be no survivors. On the bridge of the dreadnought Sovereign, General Alaric Kane stood tall, his eyes fixed on the battlefield. His officers reported kill counts, ship destructions, enemy losses. He said nothing. He only watched, his expression cold, carved in iron. "General," an officer said, her voice sharp. "The outpost's central command has sent a surrender signal." Kane's jaw tightened. He remembered the image of the envoy falling to the Council's pike. He remembered Earth's silence, the tears, the fury. He gave no mercy. "Destroy it," he ordered. And with a single command, the Sovereign's main cannon fired. A beam of white fire burst forward, engulfing the outpost. The station, once thought indestructible, shattered into fragments. Millions, of tons of metal, glass, and lives turned into dust, scattered across the void. The first strike was over. News of Kairos spread faster than light. Across the galaxy, whispers turned to screams. The Council, who had executed a single human envoy, in arrogance now faced the impossible. Their mighty fleets, their proud defenses, their long-standing dominance, none of it mattered. Humanity's weapons were beyond their science, beyond their imagination. And worst of all, humanity's fury was endless. On dozens of alien worlds, leaders argued, panicked, begged. Some demanded retaliation, others whispered of surrender, but all of them felt the same cold truth crawl into their hearts. The humans were not weak. The humans were not finished, they were only beginning. Back on Earth, the celebrations were not wild. They were quiet, steady, grim. People watched the footage of Kairos burning and they did not cheer. They nodded. They clenched their fists. They whispered to one another, "This is justice." In the underground bunkers, President Morgan addressed the world. Her voice was calm, but her words carried the weight of iron. The Council killed our voice. We answered. They will kill again. We will answer again. And we will not stop until they learn what it means to make humanity their enemy. Across the fleet, soldiers swore oaths. Pilots carved names of the fallen into their cockpits. Engineers whispered prayers as they loaded the weapons. Humanity had never been so united, so focused, so merciless. The first strike was not just a battle. It was a message. A warning carved in fire across the stars. Humanity had declared war, and war would not end until the galaxy itself trembled. From the Sovereign's bridge, General Kane looked out at the wreckage of Kairos. His officers waited for new orders. His voice was steady, cold, unyielding. Set course for the next target. The fleets turned. Engines blazed. The black storm of Earth's fury rolled forward once more, and in the shadows of the galaxy, empires that had once mocked humanity now whispered in fear. The death of one envoy had awakened something far worse than they had imagined. The humans were not seeking peace anymore. They were seeking vengeance, and vengeance had only just begun. The galaxy burned. Outposts were gone, border fleets reduced to ash, trade routes severed by invisible blades of light. In every corner of known space, the same message spread like wildfire. Humanity has struck. In the halls of the Galactic Council, fear finally replaced arrogance. The chamber where the human envoy had died was now filled with shouting. Delegates screamed at each other in panic. Some demanded immediate retaliation. Others begged for negotiations. But for the first time in centuries, the Council could not agree. Supreme Speaker Vathron slammed his clawed fist against the table. "We cannot let this continue. They are only one world, one species. They cannot fight all of us." But the room fell silent as a trembling aide rushed in, holding a datapad. His voice cracked as he read the report. Council fleets Alpha and Beta destroyed. Entire formations gone. 37 worlds cut off from supply lines. No survivors. The delegates' faces paled. The truth was unavoidable. Humanity was no longer a rising power. Humanity was an executioner, and the executioner was walking toward them. Far above, in the endless dark, the human armada gathered. The Sovereign stood at its head, its black hull glowing with the light of weapon cores, hotter than suns. Around it, dreadnoughts, carriers, and swarms of drones formed a wall of firepower that no alien fleet could match. General Alaric Kane stood on the bridge, his eyes hard as steel. Every officer on the ship felt the weight of what was about to happen. This was not a battle anymore, this was judgment. "Set course," Kane ordered, his voice low, cold. For the Council homeworld, the fleet moved. Across the galaxy, billions of aliens watched as Earth's forces advanced without pause. Fear spread faster than light. Empires that once mocked humans now begged for mercy. Worlds surrendered before a single shot was fired. But humanity's fury was not so easily satisfied. On the Council's homeworld, cities trembled as alarms blared. Planetary shields rose, glowing like domes of light across continents. Civilian transports filled the skies, desperate to escape, but the sky itself soon turned black, covered by the shadows of human ships. From orbit, the Sovereign released its first volley. Beams of white fire cut through the planet's shields, shaking the ground below. Towers collapsed. Skies burned. The proud heart of the Council quaked under the weight of humanity's wrath. Inside the Council chamber, chaos ruled. Delegates screamed as the ceiling shook. Dust rained down. Some tried to flee, others froze in terror. Supreme Speaker Vathron shouted into his comms, "Open negotiations. Offer them anything, anything." But the only reply was silence. Because, at that very moment, every screen in the chamber flickered alive. It was not a threat, not a demand. It was a recording. The image of the human envoy filled the chamber once more. His calm voice echoed through the hall, the same words he had spoken before his death. "We came not as conquerors, but as equals. Humanity offers friendship. We offer trade, knowledge, and peace. Together, our worlds can grow stronger. But if you choose to make us your enemy, then you do not understand us at all." The Council delegates wept, screamed, begged, but it was too late. The Sovereign's main cannon charged. General Kane's voice echoed across the network, heard by every ship, every soldier, every world. "You killed one of ours. Today you learn what it means to face all of us." The cannon fired. The Council's great capital, the shining city that had stood for 10,000 years, vanished in a single flash of white light. Towers, palaces, temples, all turned to ash. The Galactic Council, once masters of the galaxy, were no more. Silence followed, silence deeper than space itself. And then came the message, broadcast not in threats, not in rage, but in a single, cold truth, repeated across every channel in the galaxy. "This is the cost of killing one human." The galaxy trembled. Some empires bent the knee, others prepared to resist, but all of them knew one truth. The age of the Council was over. The age of humanity had begun. On Earth, crowds filled the streets watching the skies. They saw their fleets return, scarred but victorious. They saw the fires of vengeance burn out into the calm of survival. And they understood. They were no longer one world. They were the storm that had changed the stars. General Kane stood on the Sovereign's bridge, his gaze fixed on the distant stars. He spoke not with anger, but with finality. "The galaxy will remember. We did not want this war, but you gave it to us. And now, we are its end." The reckoning was complete.